His plane was shot, and plastic shards from the windshield tore into his eyes.
Ow! Questionable tube placements, what not to do with a watermelon, and a cautionary tale of MRI machines. Today, we're back breaking down and reacting to all of the jaw-dropping medical scenes and wild injuries from the highly successful animator Zack D Films. Let's dive right in.
A cannonball would leave a massive hole in your chest, but your chest is full of important stuff, like your heart and lungs.
That's actually a good picture, and you're seeing that thing that's underneath the lungs. That's actually your diaphragm, I think is what they're trying to show. Very good imaging. I love good animated anatomy.
If the cannonball somehow missed all of that, could you actually survive?
If a cannonball went right through your chest in the epigastric area, just below your heart, missing all your major organs and blood vessels, yeah, you could survive, but you have the other component of you're not going to be able to walk, probably, because it's going to destroy your spinal cord.
Well, doctors would have to stop the bleeding and make sure the inside stay cleaned.
It wouldn't be as simple as stop the bleeding. It would be resuscitate you, give you blood back, try to repair all the major blood vessels that have been injured, chest tubes in both sides, make sure there's no blood around the heart that's causing a cardiac tamponade.
Then they would have to take skin from another spot of your body and use it to cover the edges.
Yes, you can use skin graft from somewhere else. That is an easy repair. That's like the easier part of the story. But the harder part is making sure the person doesn't die from the initial impact. I don't think this injury was compatible with life.
The tube is guided through your eye socket if your face is too injured for a regular breathing tube.
You're doing a blind procedure. Very rare, very dangerous. Most doctors won't do this type of procedure.
You see, your eyes, nose, and throat are actually all connected. And when the tube is pushed through your eye, it makes its way into the open space behind your nose.
If it's an emergency and we have to intubate you, we're going to try to put a breathing tube through your mouth. So we will do that first. If we cannot, you can try to do a nasal intubation, but that is not as good.
It's pushed downward into your airway, and oxygen is pumped into your lungs, saving your life.
You're probably going to go for a crike. It sounds scary, but you make an incision in the neck and you cut the cricothyroid membrane and you get into the airway right there and put a tube.
A metal guardrail shot through the windshield, impaling a man in the front seat.
Yep. This is a classic Dr. Wagner moment. Please don't pull it out, which they appropriately did. Get to the hospital, get some imaging, get assessed, get the patient to the operating room.
Firemen spent an hour shortening the 13-foot pole.
I can't imagine the discomfort as the blade is vibrating that pole.
Surgeons discovered the pole was 2.3 inches in diameter and had missed his heart by just half an inch.
It's a hollow pole going through the thoracic cavity. It probably cut through bone, it probably cut through lung tissue, but it missed the heart, probably destroyed the scapula on the back.
During surgery, doctors carefully removed the pole, avoiding major blood vessels and vital organs, and the man ended up living.
So there's a lot more going on and a lot more procedures that are needed probably in this scenario, but it's a survivable injury as long as no major, massive injury occurs.
You could swallow a whole watermelon.
What? That's basically me on my lunch break at the hospital. Between hospital shifts and keeping up with the channel, my schedule is a disaster. For months now, I've been bringing Factor meals to work or having them for dinner when I get home late. From a health and wellness standpoint, this is where Factor really stands out. Most people end up trading health for convenience, overpriced delivery, cafeteria mystery meals, or skipping meals altogether. Factor takes the guesswork out of that. Their meals are designed by dietitians and built around whole foods, lean proteins, and vegetables, using quality ingredients like organic produce and responsibly sourced meats. Factor is usually cheaper than delivery anyway, the portions are legit, and you're not hungry again 20 minutes later. They make it easy to eat consistently when time is tight. There are tons of options every week, so it never feels repetitive. I usually opt for the protein meals because I'm constantly on the go and need something that actually keeps me energized and full. However, there are also calorie smart meals for those who want to be more mindful, keto options, and a wide variety, even if you're picky. And the food actually tastes good. Stuff like truffle butter filet mignon or the grilled chicken are all real balanced meals, not some frozen shortcut. They're quick, easy, and they give me time to get back to my day, to focus on my patients and creating better content for for you guys. Fuel your body and fuel the channel. Head to factor75.com or click the link below. Use the code on the screen to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for a year. All right, let's get back to the video.
If your jaw worked like a snake's, but as it traveled down your throat, it would crush your windpipe, cutting off your air before it even reached your chest.
I don't typically like general terminology like windpipe. It's your trachea. It's got tracheal rings, so it's got cartilage to protect and keep the airway open, but on some of the smaller areas, cartilage doesn't go all the way around. That's where it can compress down.
Your esophagus isn't stretchy like a snake's, and the watermelon would slam into your lungs and heart.
The esophageal tissue could rip open, causing something called a Mallory-Wise tear or Boerhaave, and then you can get fluid and air into your mediastinum, into your chest, which can cause bad infection, mediastinitis, compressing your heart, not just exploding it, so to speak, but not allowing the normal cardiac output.
Even if it somehow reached your stomach, it wouldn't fit, meaning you wouldn't have the acid or enzymes to break it down. At that point, your only option would be to throw it back up, but forcing it out would cause just as much damage.
Lower esophageal sphincter is going to be open. You can have acid reflux. With individuals that have gastroparesis, so slowing of the stomach motility, or cannabis-induced hyperemesis syndrome, or any other vomiting syndromes, their stomach doesn't move things out, so people will induce vomiting.
His 20-pound metal necklace started to pull away from his chest as he stepped into the room.
Why did he go into the MRI room to begin with, and why was he not supervised, and where was anybody else? These are the questions that I have.
He reached out to help his wife get up from the MRI table, but the machine was still on, and it had one of the most powerful magnets on Earth inside.
I've had MRIs myself. I work in a facility that has MRI machines. There are warning signs everywhere relating to magnets.
It created a force 60,000 times stronger than Earth's magnetic field.
Whoa.
Suddenly, his necklace shot forward, violently dragging him headfirst into the machine, and he died the next day from his injuries.
Maybe caused a cervical spine injury high up, or caused significant amount of brain trauma, causing significant amount of bleeding. It also could have caused airway obstruction. It could have been hypoxic, causing an anoxic brain injury. You'd expect maybe the chain would fall off.
If an anteater stuck its tongue through your mouth and into your stomach...
What? How many people have an anteaters crawling up on you? I mean, maybe if you're in the wilderness or you fell asleep at the zoo.
Could it remove the food you ate with its tongue? Well, their tongues can reach up to 2 feet.
2-foot tongue. What?
The biggest tongue in the world.
It's almost the size of a nasal or oral gastric tube that we would use after we intubate somebody.
After that, as it scraped for food, its quick flicking motion could tear up the delicate tissues inside.
Once the tube that we put in your belly stays there, it's not doing this type of motion. Ripping the gastric lining out causes inflammation, can cause bleeding, can cause a peptic ulcer, could cause significant amount of pain and muscle spasming.
He lost half of his jaw.
So why would the person's jaw in the first place disappear like this? Could be a tumor, mass, cancer, could be infection that ate away at the bone itself. They would have cleaned out the rest of the bone on the jaw to make sure that it was healthy tissue.
Doctors sawed into his leg bone, cutting out a section and reshaping it into the curve of his jaw.
Cool.
Then they drilled in dental implants while the bone was still attached to his leg, and they attached a set of custom 3D printed teeth.
Ooh. Bone does have a blood supply if you're getting the marrow with it, basically. What we're seeing is muscle that's still supplying potential blood to the muscle piece as well as the bone, so that way it's still healthy and growing.
Once inside his mouth, blood vessels from the leg were stitched to vessels in his neck, keeping the new jaw alive. And tiny screws locked the bone in place, securing it to what was left of his original jaw.
Most likely, this would be 2 different specialists that would do this. You want an oral surgeon, another specialist, likely a type of orthopedic surgeon.
His friend shot an arrow at the gas canister on his head. They were both drunk.
Of course. A lot of stories where gasoline is involved is not a sober story. Crazy, stupid, dangerous. Please don't do this.
The can hitting him instead. As it shot through his skull, it somehow missed all major blood vessels before coming out the back.
First instinct when it went through is to hold on and grab it. Please fight that instinct to pull it out.
and the man stayed conscious the entire time. Doctors treated him by drilling around the arrowhead and pulling the rest through. And even though he lost his eye, he survived without any brain damage.
Likelihood of the eye surviving is pretty low because it's such a specialized structure. That's amazing because that area, your brainstem, the midbrain where your pons is, all these structures, if there's injury to them, you're probably not going to be able to survive.
His plane was shot, and plastic shards from the windshield tore into his eyes.
Ow! If it goes into the area of the eye where your cornea is, or the covered part of the colored part of your eye, that's gonna hurt like a son of a gun. Highly specialized cells that are innervated or have nerves, and they send really big pain signals.
Injuries like these usually cause swelling as your body tries to get rid of the foreign objects. But the plastic pieces didn't activate his immune system, meaning they could stay in his body for a long time without any harm.
That's a relative statement. They're staying there without an inflammatory response, but they're impeding or causing scarring potential formation. Maybe.
He figured if he could put this kind of plastic in someone's eyes, he could replace their damaged lens, curing their blindness. And he eventually invented the first permanent contacts.
I knew that the lens that doctors put into the eye, the ophthalmologist, is a type of polymer, aka type of plastic, but didn't know the background story of how this happened, which is pretty impressive.
His stomach grew into a potbelly over time. So he exercised regularly and didn't drink beer. After losing 34 pounds, it was still there. Doctors told him it was nothing, but he demanded a full-body scan.
Doing the right appropriate thing to work out, change diet, but then when you go to the doctor and the doctor isn't gonna do an image, like, what's going on? An ER doctor, at least here in the United States, is gonna get a CT scan of the abdomen.
They found a 30-pound tumor wrapped around his kidney. It took 6 hours of surgery to remove it, along with the kidney, but he fully recovered.
Most likely this is a benign tumor. So we have tumors, aka cancer. Cancers can be malignant, bad, or they can be benign, just growths, aka tumor.
It's a tumor.
Yeah, it's basically a laparotomy. They must have had to take the kidney because it was attached to it. You need one to survive. If you see any of the things that you see on Zack D Films and you have any questions, send them my way. And if you guys want me to react more to Zack D Films, these are very good and they do bring up a lot of good medical issues. Let me know in the comments. And as always, do me a favor, check out this playlist, binge watch everything. Make sure that you subscribe, turn on your bell notifications, and hit that like button for me. Thank you so much for watching, and stay healthy, my friends.